Well, hello, everyone. It is David Nuno. We call this TexAgs Rewind. It is presented by T-Mobile. Hi, Billy. How are you, sir?
Davey boy.
We talked a lot about Brady Quinn. We talked a lot about the offensive line. I'm just ready for some football, man.
I was ready for some recruiting, and we talked a lot about that
we
too.
did.
Chase Bisontis, big-time get for Jimbo Fisher, Steve Adazio and company. And I think after SEC Media Days, I think Brady Quinn was just upset that he wasn't invited, and he had to go cover like the ACC or the Pac-12 or something. He needed some attention, so what better thing to do than talk about Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M, and the SEC. It's the easy ticket to get the Twitter attention that you crave.
He certainly did that.
You ordered some Twitter attention? Here it is.
You get it beyond Twitter.
Jimbo with a side of Texas A&M and an extra large SEC.
So beyond that on the program, by the way, we're brought to you by T-Mobile. Check out T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn how you get more value and coverage through T-Mobile. We talked about transfers. They're changing. It looks like it's changing big time here. We talked to Georgia insider Dean Legge, and Tom Hart was on the show as well. He was hilarious as always. It's TexAgs Rewind.
But as far as the chaos of college football, it's only getting more chaotic. And what you're talking about is now the idea of just
unlimited transfers.
transfers.
They're going to vote on this in the first week of August, but apparently they're recommending the Division I Council.
Now, when you say they,
the Division I Council.
Who made up of? Do we know who that's?
I don't even know who those jokers are, but they just want to add to the. They really are trying to push the NCAA away. Like, they may be involved, but like, this is what's going to happen is eventually, and we were talking about it pre-show, OB. There's just going to be a different. There's going to be football like we've been talking about, but it's going to be much faster than I think we expected. Like, there's going to be a football league for these Division I or top Power 2 schools and everybody else.
Yeah, I think what will eventually happen, and we've talked about this for a long time, is these, and this way it's trending, whether it's going to be 2 super conferences or 4 major conferences, they're going to break off. And like right now we have FBS and FCS. They're going to have their own, let's just call it the super division. So we're going to have, and it may be 60 teams. And I believe when that happens, they're going to put in certain stipulations in that scholarship that you sign.
Does it go back to what Lane Kiffin was talking about? Not to give Lane too much credit, but that there's going to be some kind of salary cap-ish kind of thing, or like a soft cap like they do in baseball.
I don't know that you can do that.
Yeah.
Because in baseball, the teams are paying, and in professional sports, the teams are paying the players, so they put a salary cap on the teams and how much. Under NIL, supposedly, the players are making their own money on the side. So there's no salary cap for Tom Brady and how much money he can make on the side.
On the side, right.
There's no.
But here's the part that is interesting to me, OB. That's always been around in the pros, but it's never been a major reason that a pro athlete goes to a market. It's the salary they get from that team and the opportunity, right? In college football right now, it feels like NIL is the way to go.
I would argue in basketball especially, and there are other sports that guys have gone to certain places like New York. I remember Eli Manning would not go to San Diego. John Elway would not go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
But now maybe you could argue, well, those franchises were so poorly mismanaged. But, Wayne Gretzky wanted to be married to an actress, so he said, okay, I'll go to L.A.
Yeah.
So I think it happens. But, again, they're going to get paid a lot of money by any – I'm talking about these pro athletes – by any team that they sign with. But can you make more money on the side? Yeah, and nobody can regulate that except for the IRS, I guess, because that's money you're making on your own time. And with the NIL deals, it's the same thing. How do you have a salary cap when it's theoretically not the universities that are paying these salaries?
What they're doing, though, OB, is they're encouraging leaving for NIL. By allowing this, they're saying, you know what? The only way you're going to make a lot of money is by leaving. They say sometimes in the business world, it's hard to move up in your own company. You have to move to another place before you can come back. That's what it's going to become in college football. You win your freshman year at A&M, then you know what? I'm going to go to
that's what the guy at Pitt was doing.
Exactly. And then they can do it again. So the defense last year, obviously one of the greatest we've ever seen. They were phenomenal. This year is still a TBD. So how does that partnership with what Stetson does, but with the defense that really had his back last year?
So this is the question, well, what you just touched on. Is the offense going to be, and they suspect it will be, better, improved enough to where the fall off on the defensive side of the ball is irrelevant or doesn't matter as much? You're talking about, I don't know, 7 points a game, something like that. If the defense goes up 3.5, does the offense go up 4? And, they should be better on offense. They're not going to be better on defense, but Kirby has not had a bad defense at Georgia yet. So it's all in the margins. Where are they going to be when you got to score, can you score? They had to score against Bama in the fourth quarter. They did.
Let's talk about wide receiver, a situation there that some new guys in, some guys have left. One guy went over to Alabama. We'll talk about the depth there and how they extend the field with the new players.
Well, you're talking about Jermaine Burton, who really is a good player. He will be a very good player at Alabama.
Will he be good for them? Is he a good fit?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, look, Jermaine Burton has the ability to knock the roof off the building with speed. Georgia doesn't throw as often as Alabama does lately. But Burton scored in the Orange Bowl. That's just Jermaine, so he's a very good player, no question about it. I have a board in my office, and I'm trying to visualize all the guys because they don't have a superstar.
Right.
But they have several more than capable players who made plays in the national championship game. A.D. Mitchell, who grew up in Houston, is a guy that really was important for Georgia.
Right.
Brad McConkey from North Georgia. You've got Kearis Jackson from Middle Georgia. The return of Dominic Blaylock, Dominic Sanders was a player for them years ago. The return of Dominic Blaylock is perhaps the most curious thing here because he could be a very dangerous weapon for Georgia. And that's just receivers. Now, they have 10 returning receivers, I think it is, and 7 of them have significant playing ability, or they have played a significant amount of downs for Georgia. Their strength is tight end.
Where does the leadership come from this year? I mean, we talk about Stetson 6 years, but
Right.
Where else?
Well, the guy that had the glasses on today, his name is Nolan Smith. This is his 4th season at Georgia. He has a lot to say.
Yeah.
I think if you talk about leadership, it will come from those two guys, not exclusively, but they will be, on the offensive side of the ball. Stetson's lived it. Mm-hmm. There is no person in college football who is returning as the starting quarterback that has a national championship.
Yep.
That person doesn't exist. Stetson's one of them. The other person on the other side of the ball will be Nolan Smith, who decided to come back to try to elevate his stock prospects next year. So those will be the two guys.
It turns out to be one of the worst hires in this century in the SEC. I mean, people who were critical of Jeremy when he was at Georgia and he was so divisive within the coach's office with Mark Richt. He had some of his guys there. Richt had his loyalists. It's hard to find anybody in the world that would say a bad word about Mark Richt. I mean, he is a class individual. He was loyal to the University of Georgia, and he was a great coach, if not just below elite. And Pruitt came in there and really blew stuff up, and there are rumors of all these altercations and such. And then you parlay that with, okay, what is his background, and can he be a head coach, with the fact that then they have this coup at the University of Tennessee where they chase out John Curry right before he hires Mike Leach. How different would the league look right now if Mike Leach was at Tennessee? And I say that because Tennessee still has recruiting power based on their funding and their brand name, way more so, in my opinion, and I'm not a recruiting expert, than Mississippi State. Okay, so if Mike Leach is at Tennessee, fast forward the success and add a couple of wins per year. I mean, what different level quarterbacks can you get to come to Knoxville that you can't get to come to Starkville? Wide receivers, running backs, the whole thing. I think he would be crushing it in Knoxville right now. But instead, they have this fan revolt. They run out Curry before he can, first because he was going to hire Greg Schiano, and then while he's in the process flying coast to coast hiring Mike Leach, they bring in Philip Fulmer. That was an abject disaster. He treated the press conference like it was homecoming when it was much, much more serious than that. And then he goes and he plucks Pruitt, which was a terrible decision that the bill's going to be coming due for that for years to come. The one hesitation I would say on the penalties, and we'll wait and see what they may be. Scholarship limitations aren't the same as they used to be when you have NIL, and you can get guys, you can essentially pay for their school without a scholarship. So I'm really curious how the NCAA treats that whole scenario going forward.
Talking to Tom Hart on the BCSI hotline. Tom, how did you think Jimbo handled the lights of SEC Media Days? Because it felt, from an A&M perspective, Alabama media went with a mission to ask some questions. Not so much when Saban was on the podium.
Yeah, I think he handled it well. I thought his sense of humor and ability to deflect at times is well received. What clip got played more than anything else was the clip when he was asked about talking fast and if he could, slow down so people can transcribe. It's fine. It's not going to die, right? It's going to come up again the week of the game, and it's going to come up every time they face each other. The interesting wrinkle, David, is that what did Jimbo say previous to media days that caught a lot of attention? Go ask God how he does it, right? Jeremy Pruitt worked under Saban, and now Pruitt is exposed for how he attempted to do it. By the way, that included not just his assistants and recruiting people handing out cash, as sloppy as you could get, but even his wife being the bag man in a number of instances over a year period. So if you want to dig deeper into and find fissures, Pruitt is a central character and a lot of Alabama's success, and that should give a lot of people pause if they want to be part of the Alabama side of things.
Are we going to start with the Aggie commitment, national top 100 offensive lineman that Jimbo Fisher and Steve Adazio have been recruited from day one, and that is what I believe the first step towards making a lot of people look silly. They picked a weird time this weekend to pull up my tweet where I was saying, watch the commitment start rolling in a couple months ago. And I was admittedly a couple months premature, as I think they've had one roll in since then. I don't know if that'd be considered a roll or a drip, but it wasn't even a drip. It was a one-timer, and then that faucet was shut off, but it's about to open up in a big way right now. And I think Chase Bisontis, you're going to look back, and he's the guy that got it rolling on a very big week for Jimbo and the Aggies. And again, it's what these guys do. They recruit at an elite level. We've seen the waxing and waning of the classes, the highs and lows, in terms of the hot streaks and when they've gone stretches without getting commit. I think this one was a little different because there wasn't all the dominoes just lined up where everyone knew they were going to fall. It's just a matter of when. But I think some people are going to be surprised at the move A&M is about to make on the recruiting front. And it starts with, again, a guy, David, that they've been recruiting from day one as a must-get, as an anchor of that O-line. And really, it's Steve Adazio's first get. Now, don't get me wrong, the new O-line coach got to be incredibly fired up about Colton Thomason based on what he looked like and performed like at camp here. But that was a commit under the previous O-line coach, Josh Henson. So this is Steve Adazio's first O-line commit. I think it's fitting that he's a guy from New Jersey. I think that's really apropos considering Adazio's background. But it's also continued success in the Northeast for this A&M program, which is just fascinating. We could talk about that for an hour. It's just something I've never seen, something I don't think A&M's ever done, and it's wild how much success they have in the Northeast. But this is one of the biggest ones, both literally and
and figuratively, it's one of the biggest ones they've gotten because Chase, that's a big-time offensive lineman at a position of need. I've dubbed it, or I've tagged it as the second most significant position of need in this class. I think if I went top 3, I would go linebacker 1, O-line 2, wide receiver 3, or vice versa. It's right up there. And to land him over really, it was LSU, Michigan State, Rutgers, A&M, and really he could have gone anywhere. Texas, Ohio State, Penn State. You go look at his offer list, it goes on and on. But LSU was a threat there for a while. Michigan State was a threat there for a while with what Mel Tucker's doing up there. So this was some really good recruiting. And I think the first of potentially A&M going out and getting 1-2 of their 2 most desired O-linemen in this class anywhere around the country. Bisontis and if they can close out TJ Shanahan at Austin Westlake. So keep an eye on that, because if you look up and go, okay, they landed these 2 guys that stood head and shoulders above everybody else on the O-line for them, that would be something.
Billy, as we leave, tell the people what to do.
Smash, click, follow, tell your friends about it, like it.
All that good
Spread
stuff.
the word. Spread the word. Build the show. It helps. Helps a lot.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.